this was the last game I played against a guy named Aaron Buger, another Aaron, really nice guy. This was a game that was really funny because it was black. I was black, and he had told me before the game that all his games were Caro-Cans today, whether he was white or black. He played E4, and the guy played Caro-Can, and when he was black, the guy played E4, and he played Caro-Can. And so he told me that, and I was like, well, I gotta do Caro-Can. But I didn't tell him that until he made the move, which made it funnier. And so laughed about it. Standard moves here. I made some mistakes here, but that's not too important. So something I started thinking about here, and this wasn't an amazing move, and he's winning. It's not +1, but it's close. I was really focused on, I got to a certain point and I was like, I think I can create like a fortress on my king side. I think I could do it. And so a lot of the weird moves you'll see, because I'll do a lot of king moves over the next 10 moves, was me like thinking I can block up my king side really effectively. Whether that was good or not, probably not. I think I gave up some attacking chances. What made this funny, though, is that before the game we were talking to the conference organizers, and we made a joke about how we're going to draw by agreement, which obviously you're not supposed to do. But we were just joking about it. But I think I ended up being so worried about how the game was going to go that I got a little too focused on king safety. And or some weird kingside attack, because I was looking at like, you do a random move. I was like, kind of looking at like can I do this? Because like you push forward here, and I'm like, boom, the game's closed down. Like it's equal here. Like no one's doing anything. So I was like, okay, that's good. And if you take here, I was like, well, shoot, maybe I got a kingside attack. Like this bishop already sucks. It's behind the knight. Like maybe I'll just keep it here forever. And so I was like, maybe that's not so bad. And there's a move that allows him to stay in the lead, but there's a lot of moves that allow me to take the lead over. So I didn't do that. I did this because I was like, all right, I'm not going to move. If there's no knight here, I'm not going to move here because I don't want him to have some like move where he gets to move his knight out of the way to a good square, and all of a sudden he can like stack my pawns, because I'm like, these pawns aren't great. This pawn's already hard enough to defend. So once he did that, then I felt comfortable doing this, because it's actually kind of a common thing you'll see in some Caro-Cans is people putting their knights on these squares, because it stops this from happening, but it also allows a lot of maneuverability here. Anyways, he did this, which is fine. Something in the Caro-Can is when you play h4, h5, eventually you're basically saying you're okay with losing your h-pawn, which happens in a lot of games, because it's like very hard to defend most of the time. Not this game, because somehow I have this, but in a lot of games that doesn't happen, and it's basically something a Caro-Can player is supposed to be like, oh well about, because you're going to say like, there are other advantages, which isn't true if you're me, but that's not important. And I was like, all right, I need to get my pieces up, and part of the reason I can do this and then castle and move my queen away is because this is being defended, and so you can't like do this because I'm just in time to stop it. So you also have to be careful because you can't do this. You can't do this. Can't kick the knight away, because then it's a little suspicious, basically. You really can't allow that to happen, because you can't block with this. You definitely got to be careful about doing that. So you like either have to admit you need to move, but then, that's disgusting. There's really like no way out of that. So you can't do that, which sucks, which means if he takes here, you have to do king c8, which is just foul, because you're just in time to do that. But then you allow this. It's just, anyways, I didn't want to play this, so you can't push your pawn forward. So I said, let's get the bishop in there. This was a weird move that was preparing this move, or possibly preparing to do this. Let's just say he makes a random move. I do this. He does a random move. And now I'm actually cemented in, but he's got some weaknesses, because he can't, like, if he moves his queen away and it's over here, I've got this square, which then I can go to here. Maybe that's awesome. Or he moves his bishop away and his queen away. This square is weak, so I was like, maybe that's going to be great. Now, he didn't allow any of that to happen. He did this, and I was like, if he moves here, that's a little annoying, so I have to do this. But I'm going to give a sample variation. All right. Let's just say I make a random move like this. He goes here. Only move I can go is here. But if he goes here, I'm like, sick, it's blocked up again. And now there's just no way for him to stop me from blocking it up. So I was like, forget about a random move. Like, I'm castling into it. Which is dumb because it gets rid of this square, but I always want to play knight a8 because it's such a silly move. This was just like, all right, the game's done here. Like, I'm really not worried about it. He does here, I do here, he does here. Like, the game's over. There's no more stuff happening on the king side. So I stopped being worried about it. So I said, all right, let's get all our pieces over here. He did push. I moved back. He went over here. We did a trade. Obviously, he can never do this because then I get to push up. But what I was worried about, and part of the reason why I moved here, is a long series of events that involve this, where I go here, not here, but like, I can't let him jump here, so I can't move the knight away to start like trying to go in here. But I can't do this either in a weird way, because like, he can't move his piece here ever, but if I do this at some point, let me just write a random move. I can't do that, and I really wanted to have my knight here because I wanted to be able to take this. I hate this because yes, he gets to move away, but then there's again some nonsense I have to deal with because it's not a fortress anymore. So I'm trying to remember where he actually moved. I did this, he moved back, and I did this because now if he does this, I don't have to do this. I'm just in time to move my king up. And so takes, but there's no pawn nonsense. He does this, and the game's still fine. Which, oh, excuse me, is basically what happened. I did this because I was like, all right, if someone's going to get the open file when it opens, like, it's going to be me. And then I thought about, and he was like connecting his rooks. I was like, well, shoot, maybe I'm going to win now. Because you do this, I take, well, I mean, he can take first, but all of a sudden, like, I'm the one who's controlling the open file. Like, yeah, there's a lot of tension here, but all of a sudden, like, my knight's got some forking squares. I'm the one controlling the file. Like, he can't move this knight because I can do this, and I can take the pawn, and it's all those things. So, thankfully, none of that happened. I pushed, and I was like, all right, this pawn's, everything's protected. Nothing's at risk here. So I was like, let me take that, shut everything down, and I could just move away. You do this, and I do this. And, like, yeah, you can try to take here, but it's the same situation. I've got an open file. And if you don't check me, then I get to do the really fun this move, which also shuts it down. And you can try to do this. This is kind of a fun variation. And what's funny is you can take here, but actually I can just do this. And you can't move in to infiltrate, so you have to go out here. And at this point, like, you gotta be careful basically, because I got a 2-point lead. Because, well, this rook's really good. Only where you can move is here, and then, you know, I'm threatening to start getting up in your grill and taking pawns. So you can't push the pawn. What ended up happening was he moved his rook, and then I moved my rook. I should have left it open in hindsight, possibly. But this was the move that kind of just shut things down. And what's funny here is you can basically, both of us can keep making, so I'll move over here, and we can both keep making just absolutely random moves because you can never push, because although I think actually you can push here, but that's neither there nor here. But really still, you can't move forward. And I'm still winning, and eventually this knight's going to get in there, and it's going to be really annoying. So it's still like a draw, but I was actually looking at a very fun variation of, let's just say you move here, I do here, you do here. Like, we just block it up. And then something that's very silly is you can actually just take. Because even if I sacrifice my knight, there's like literally nothing you can do about it. You can never go to any of these squares with the king, and your bishop can never move to any of these dark squares. So I was actually hoping to do that, but we reached this point in the game right about like here after I first moved the rook up, and it was like, all right, draw agreed. So that's where we ended the game here. Both of us had winning chances. I probably should have pushed to make a more decisive win, but I was motivated by money.